Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk to you about something we've all experienced at some point in our lives. That moment when someone insults you, talks down to you, or throws negativity your way for absolutely no reason. You didn't provoke them, you didn't disrespect them, you didn't even engage them, yet here they come with their words, their tone, their attitude. And the first thing most people do is internalize it. They start asking themselves, what's wrong with me? But let me tell you something clearly and slowly so it sinks in. When people insult you for no reason, it is rarely about your flaws and almost always about their insecurity. See, secure people don't operate like that. People who are at peace with themselves don't need to belittle others to feel important. They don't need to cut you down to lift themselves up. Insecurity, on the other hand, is loud, it's restless, it's uncomfortable sitting in the presence of someone who reminds them of what they could be, but are not. So instead of fixing what's broken inside them, they project it onto you. They throw their inner chaos outward and hope it sticks to you. Think about it. A confident person can sit in a room with someone smarter, more talented, more successful, and still feel fine. An insecure person can't. Your confidence threatens them. Your calm irritates them. Your progress exposes their excuses. And rather than admit that, they choose insults, because insults are easier than self-reflection. Criticism is cheaper than growth. A lot of people don't realize this, but insults are often confessions. When someone calls you arrogant, sometimes it's because they wish they had your self-belief. When they call you lucky, it's because they don't want to acknowledge your hard work. When they call you fake, it's often because they're tired of wearing their own mask. What they're really saying is, you remind me of something I don't like about myself. Now here's where most people mess up. They give those insults power. They replay them in their mind. They let those words shape how they see themselves. But why would you let someone who hasn't built your life, paid your bills, or walked in your shoes define your worth? You've got to stop accepting criticism from people you wouldn't take advice from. That one mindset shift alone can save you years of self-doubt. Let me tell you something else. Insecurity hates clarity. When you know who you are, insults bounce differently. They don't sink in the same way. They might hit your ears, but they don't reach your soul. You don't feel the need to prove anything. You don't rush to explain yourself. You don't fight every battle, because deep down, you understand that their words are a mirror, not a measurement of you. And here's the truth nobody likes to say out loud. Sometimes the closer people are to you, the more insecure they feel. Friends, coworkers, even family members can feel threatened by your growth. They remember the old version of you and feel uncomfortable when you outgrow that role. Instead of adjusting their perception, they try to pull you back with sarcasm, jokes, or insults disguised as honesty. But growth doesn't ask for permission, and insecurity always resists change. So if people start insulting you for no reason, don't shrink. Don't dim your light. Don't start questioning your value. Understand the source. Hurt people talk loud. Insecure people talk reckless. And confident people, they don't talk much at all. They're too busy becoming who they're meant to be. Let me share something that most people never fully understand until life teaches them the hard way. When people start insulting you for no reason, when the comments come out of nowhere, and the negativity feels undeserved, it often means you are growing in ways they are not. And growth has a strange effect on people who are comfortable staying exactly where they are. You see, not everyone claps when you elevate. Some people only supported you when you were on their level, when your dreams were small enough not to threaten them. The moment you begin to think differently, move differently, or see yourself differently, it creates tension. Your progress becomes a mirror, and in that mirror they see their own stagnation. Instead of working on themselves, they attack the reflection that makes them uncomfortable. People who are not growing feel exposed by those who are. They hear your confidence as arrogance. They interpret your boundaries as pride. They see your discipline as judgment. And none of that is true, but insecurity twists perception. When someone lacks courage to change their own life, they often try to discredit the person who proves that change is possible. A lot of insults are rooted in fear. Fear of being left behind. Fear of being irrelevant. Fear of realizing that the excuses they've been telling themselves for years are no longer believable. Your success, your peace, your clarity forces them to confront their own inaction, and that confrontation is painful. So they choose the easier path, criticism. Understand this, insults are not always meant to hurt you. Sometimes they are meant to comfort the person delivering them. When someone says, "You think you're better than everyone," what they're really doing is trying to justify why they haven't pushed themselves. When they say, "You've changed," what they often mean is, "You no longer make me comfortable." Growth will always change you, and anyone who expects you to remain the same forever is more invested in their comfort than your future. Now let me tell you something important. Growth requires separation. Not everyone who started the journey with you is meant to finish it with you. And when people sense that you're outgrowing them, they may not say it directly. Instead, they express it through jokes that sting, comments that belittle, and remarks that undermine your confidence. They hope that if they can shrink you emotionally, you'll come back down to where they are. But here's where wisdom comes in. You don't have to fight every insult. You don't have to correct every misunderstanding. Your life will eventually explain everything. Silence, consistency, and continued growth are responses that insecure people can't compete with. Nothing frustrates negativity more than watching someone thrive without needing approval. You must also understand that your growth will cost you validation. Some people will never applaud you because clapping for you would require them to admit they could have done more with their own lives, and that admission is too heavy for them to carry. So they choose denial wrapped in insults. When people insult you for no reason, don't interpret it as rejection. Interpret it as confirmation that you are moving forward. Comfort zones don't criticize. Stagnation doesn't feel threatened. Only when you rise does resistance show up. Resistance is a sign that you are crossing into new territory. And listen closely to this. Your job is not to convince others that your growth is valid. Your job is to keep growing anyway. Stay focused. Stay disciplined. Stay humble but unbothered. Let your progress do the talking. Because in the end, the same people who mocked your journey will one day ask how you did it. Let me say this to you in a way that sticks with you. When people start insulting you for no clear reason, when their words come sharp and unnecessary, it often means you are standing out in ways you don't even recognize yet. And standing out makes some people uncomfortable, especially those who prefer to blend into the background of their own potential. You see, attention is not always applause. Sometimes attention shows up as criticism, sarcasm, or disrespect. And the mistake most people make is assuming that negative attention means they're doing something wrong. No, sometimes it means you're doing something right. Your presence, your mindset, your progress is creating a reaction. And reactions don't come from nothing. They come from impact. A lot of people live their lives quietly settling. They make peace with their limitations, their fears, and their excuses. So when you walk into a room with ambition, clarity, or self-belief, it disrupts the emotional balance they work so hard to maintain. You remind them of the dreams they postponed and the risks they avoided. That reminder can feel like an attack, even though you never said a word. People don't insult what they don't notice. They don't criticize what doesn't matter to them. Insults are proof that you've entered someone's mental space. And the reason they can't stop thinking about you is because you represent something they are struggling to become. Your discipline challenges their comfort. Your confidence questions their self-doubt. Your courage exposes their fear. Here's something else you need to understand. When someone is unhappy with their own life, they become highly sensitive to anyone who appears to be moving forward. Your happiness feels personal to them. Your peace feels offensive. Your success feels unfair. And instead of asking themselves, what can I learn from this? They ask, how can I tear this down so I don't feel so small? Insults are often disguised cries for control. When people feel like they are losing control over their own lives, they try to regain it by controlling the narrative around you. They talk, they label, they judge. They hope that if they can define you negatively, they can neutralize the discomfort you cause them. But let me tell you something. You cannot be reduced by someone who never built you. One of the most powerful things you can do when faced with unprovoked insults is to stay rooted in who you are. Not defensive, not reactive, rooted. When you know your intentions are clean, your effort is honest, and your growth is real, you don't need to argue with noise. You don't need to announce your value. Your consistency will do that for you. Some people insult you because they can't access you anymore. You've grown boundaries. You've stopped over-explaining. You've stopped chasing validation. And when insecure people lose access, they get loud. They mistake boundaries for arrogance and self-respect for pride. But boundaries are not walls. They are doors with locks, and not everyone has the key anymore. Let me be very clear here. Growth changes relationships. Not because you think you're better, but because you're no longer willing to be smaller. And when you stop shrinking, people who benefited from your smallness will resist. They will test you with words. They will poke at your confidence. They will insult you to see if you'll fold and return to the version of you they were comfortable with. But the version of you that's evolving cannot survive by pleasing people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You have to accept that being respected by everyone is impossible when you are becoming something more. Approval is cheap, but purpose is expensive. And sometimes the cost of purpose is being misunderstood. So when insults come without reason, don't rush to defend your name. Protect your direction. Stay focused on where you're going. Keep showing up. Keep improving. Keep becoming. Because the truth is, people only throw stones at trees that bear fruit. Let me talk to you about something that takes real strength, not the kind people clap for, but the kind that protects your peace. When people start insulting you for no reason, one of the greatest lessons life is trying to teach you is the power of silence and composure. Most people think strength is loud. They think strength is snapping back, proving a point, winning the argument. But real strength is staying calm when chaos is invited into your life. See, insults are bait. They are emotional traps designed to pull you down to a level where insecurity feels comfortable. When someone throws unnecessary words at you, they are hoping for a reaction. They want to see your face change, your tone rise, your energy shift. Because the moment you react emotionally, they feel powerful. They feel like they've gained control over you. And control is what insecure people crave the most. Silence, on the other hand, takes that control away. When you don't respond the way they expect, it unsettles them. They prepared a speech, rehearsed the insult, waited for the moment, and then you give them nothing. No argument, no defense, no emotional payoff. That kind of silence speaks louder than any comeback ever could. Now don't misunderstand me. Silence doesn't mean weakness. It doesn't mean you agree. It doesn't mean you're afraid. It means you're disciplined. It means you understand that not every comment deserves a response, and not every opinion deserves space in your life. Composure is a decision, is choosing long-term peace over short-term satisfaction. A lot of people react because they feel disrespected, but listen closely. Respect that has to be demanded through noise is fragile. True respect is built through consistency, boundaries, and self-control. When you stay composed, you communicate confidence without saying a word. You show that you know who you are, and you don't need validation from someone who is clearly unsettled. Think about this. When someone is yelling and the other person stays calm, who looks powerful? Who looks in control? The calm person always wins the room. Emotional discipline makes people uncomfortable because it exposes their lack of it. Your silence becomes a mirror, and what they see in that mirror is their own instability. Composure also protects you from regret. Words spoken in anger have a long memory. You can apologize later, but you can't unsay what was said in the heat of the moment. Silence gives you time to think, time to breathe, time to choose a response instead of reacting. And many times with time, you realize that the insult wasn't even worth addressing in the first place. Let me tell you something else. Silence is not empty, it's full of boundaries. When you don't respond, you're saying, you don't get access to my emotions. And access is a privilege, not a right. Not everyone deserves a seat at your emotional table. Some people only want to sit there so they can flip it over. Composure also keeps you aligned with who you are becoming. Growth requires emotional maturity. You cannot step into higher levels of life while reacting to every lower level distraction. Insults are distractions. They pull your focus away from your goals and onto someone else's negativity. Staying composed keeps your eyes forward instead of sideways. Now here's the part most people struggle with. Silence doesn't always feel good at first. Your ego wants to talk. Your pride wants to explain. Your emotions want to defend your name. But maturity understands that your character doesn't need defending every time someone misunderstands you. The right people already know the truth. And the wrong people were never going to believe it anyway. There's also something powerful that happens internally when you choose composure. You start trusting yourself more. You realize you don't need outside approval to feel secure. You don't need to win arguments to feel validated. You begin to understand that peace is more valuable than being right. People who insult others for no reason are often carrying internal battles you can't see. And when you respond with calm instead of conflict, you refuse to carry their burden. You let them keep what belongs to them. That's wisdom. That's emotional intelligence. So when the insults come, pause. Breathe. Remember who you are and where you're going. Let silence do the talking. Let composure be your armor. Because nothing frustrates negativity more than someone who cannot be shaken. Let me speak to you about something that changes your life the moment you truly understand it. Not everyone deserves access to your energy. When people insult you for no reason, when they bring negativity without invitation, it is often because they sense your strength and want to tap into it the wrong way. And the mistake many people make is giving unlimited access to people who only come to drain, not to support. Your energy is valuable. It fuels your focus, your confidence, your ability to create and to grow. When you waste that energy reacting to insults, explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you, or carrying emotional weight that was never yours to carry, you are paying a high price for something that gives you no return. Insults are distractions dressed up as importance, and you have to learn how to see them for what they really are. People who insult without reason are often fishing for attention. They want engagement. They want you to acknowledge them. They want proof that they matter in your world. And the moment you respond emotionally, you confirm it. You tell them without words that they have power over your mood and your mind. But when you stop feeding that behavior, when you withdraw your energy, the dynamic changes completely. Let me tell you something real. Access to you is earned, not automatic. Just because someone has known you for years doesn't mean they deserve lifelong access to your thoughts, your emotions, or your reactions. Growth teaches you that proximity does not equal permission. Some people were meant to know you once, not forever. And when you begin to understand that insults lose their leverage, a lot of people confuse kindness with availability. They think being a good person means tolerating disrespect. No, it doesn't. Being kind does not mean being weak. It means being wise enough to protect yourself while still maintaining your values. You can be respectful without being reachable. You can be calm without being accessible. Boundaries are not punishments, they are protections. When you stop giving energy to insults, something powerful happens. You start hearing yourself more clearly. You begin to make decisions based on purpose instead of emotion. You stop reacting and start responding, and sometimes you don't respond at all. That level of self-control elevates you. It separates you from chaos. It puts you in a different mental space than those who are constantly reacting to everything around them. Understand this. People who thrive on insulting others often feel invisible in their own lives. They feel unheard, unimportant, and unfulfilled. So they provoke reactions to feel alive. Your silence, your distance, your refusal to engage takes away that stimulation. And without that stimulation, they are forced to sit with themselves. That's why boundaries make insecure people uncomfortable. Protecting your energy also means choosing where you place your focus. Focus is currency. What you focus on grows. When you focus on insults, negativity grows. When you focus on your goals, your growth grows. Every moment you spend replaying someone's words is a moment you could have spent building something better. And the people who insult you for no reason are rarely doing anything meaningful with their own time. There is also freedom in realizing that you don't need to be liked by everyone. Approval is exhausting. Chasing it keeps you trapped in cycles of self-doubt. The moment you accept that some people will misunderstand you, criticize you, or dislike you no matter what, you stop trying to manage their perception. You start managing your direction instead. Let me say this clearly. Your peace is more important than their opinion. Your future is more important than winning an argument. Your purpose is more important than proving a point. When you start living by that truth, insults become background noise instead of center stage. Choosing not to engage is not avoidance. It is strategy. It is knowing that your energy is better invested in becoming who you're meant to be rather than entertaining distractions. And when people realize they can't get a reaction from you, they either change their behavior or remove themselves. Either way, you win. So guard your energy. Choose your battles. Limit access. Not everyone deserves to hear your thoughts, feel your emotions, or occupy your mental space. When you master that, insults lose their power, and peace becomes your default state. Ladies and gentlemen, let me leave you with something that ties all of this together in a way that can truly change how you move through life. When people insult you for no reason, the most important thing you must learn is how to stay focused on your purpose. Purpose is your anchor. Without it, every comment can knock you off balance. With it, noise becomes irrelevant. People who lack direction are easily distracted by other people's journeys. When someone doesn't know where they're going, they spend a lot of time watching where others are headed. And if your direction looks clearer than theirs, if your pace looks stronger, it can create resentment. That resentment often shows up as insults, criticism, or unnecessary negativity. They are not reacting to you as a person. They are reacting to your momentum. Purpose gives you clarity. It reminds you why you started, where you're going, and what actually matters. When you're connected to your purpose, you don't have the emotional space to entertain every insult. You become selective. You ask yourself, does this move me closer to my goal? And if the answer is no, you let it go. Not because it doesn't hurt, but because it doesn't help. One of the biggest mistakes people make is allowing outside voices to interrupt their inner voice. The moment you start prioritizing opinions over vision, you lose alignment. You start doubting decisions that were once clear. You start shrinking ideas that once excited you. That's how distractions win, and insults are one of the most common forms of distraction. Staying focused on purpose doesn't mean you never feel anything. It means you don't let feelings drive the wheel. You acknowledge the emotion, then you redirect your attention. You remind yourself that temporary noise cannot be allowed to derail long-term goals. This level of discipline is not natural. It is developed. It comes from repeatedly choosing progress over reaction. Purpose also gives meaning to misunderstanding. When you are doing something significant, misunderstanding is inevitable. Everyone who has ever achieved something meaningful has been criticized along the way. If you wait for universal approval, you will never move. Insults often increase when you are close to something important because resistance shows up right before breakthrough. Let me tell you something else. Focus protects your peace. When your mind is occupied with building, learning, and growing, there is less room for negativity to take root. Idleness invites overthinking. Purposeful movement quiets the noise. When you wake up with intention, insults don't have the same grip on you because your day already has direction. There will be moments when insults come from unexpected places. People you once trusted, people you once supported. That can hurt more than criticism from strangers. But even then, purpose helps you process the pain without losing yourself in it. You learn to separate emotion from execution. You feel, but you don't stop. Staying focused also requires letting go of the need to be understood. Not everyone is supposed to understand your path. Some people are only meant to observe it from a distance. When you accept that, you stop trying to explain yourself to people who are not invested in your growth. You save energy. You gain clarity. Purpose-driven people move differently. They don't stop to argue at every checkpoint. They don't slow down to address every opinion. They understand that momentum is fragile and must be protected. Every unnecessary pause costs time, and time is the one resource you cannot replenish. When people insult you for no reason, remind yourself that your job is not to manage their behavior. Your job is to manage your focus. You cannot control what others say, but you can control what you give your attention to. Attention is power. Wherever you place it, something grows. And here is the truth that brings peace. Most of the people who criticize you will not be present at the finish line. They are spectators, not participants. Their voices are loud because their actions are quiet. Your purpose demands movement, not commentary. So stay focused, stay disciplined, stay aligned. Let your work speak. Let your consistency answer. Let your purpose pull you forward when distractions try to pull you back. Because in the end, the clearest response to unprovoked insults is a life that keeps moving forward without looking back.